So file handling. So when we want to work with files, the key function you need is the function called open. The function open files, obviously, and it takes two parameters. So the name of the file, which is usually the full path name, so where it's found in the operating system, and optionally the mode, and the mode could be R for read or A for append, so open a file and add some contents at the end of it, W for write, which would overwrite an existing file, and X for create. So, for example, if we just want to read the contents of a file, the following lines are equivalent because read is the default. Then, if we just do file open and the file name.txt and or we use an R to say read, then these two lines will do the same thing. Okay, and there's a page on the W3 Schools website to look at more details about that. Okay, so let's read the contents of the file. We can use the method that's provided us by .read. So this is part of this file thing that we've got. So we opened a file and we can use file.read to look at the contents as a string, reads the whole contents in as a single string. And then, for example, we could split it into a list of words. So using the .split. So we could take contents .split. So contents is read from the file. That's just one single string, and then we split that into words like we did last week. And there's another page to look at on W3 Schools about that. And here's an example doing exactly that. It takes the file lorem.txt, so that's the default text that people use as placeholders. So lorem ipsum that we talked about last week. It opens that file, reads the contents in, prints the contents out, and then prints each word individually. So it splits the contents into individual words and prints out each word individually. You may be wondering where this lorem text lives. Well, if you look at this week's examples, you'll see, as well as there being the Python file examples, there's 3 data files. There's 2 text files and a CSV file. And if I open up the lorem file, there you can see it's got all the lorem text that we saw last week. So if I just run that file reader, there it is. I run that. You'll see it comes up with quite a lot of output. First, there's the original text at the top that it prints out as a single string, and then it prints out each word one after the other. Where in this case, because we haven't got rid of the punctuation like we did last week, the punctuation is included in each word. Okay, so that's a nice easy way to get hold of the contents of the file. There you are. It's printing the contents as a string and then splitting the contents and printing each word as a separate line. Now, one of the problems with working with files is accessing the file system. And we don't have any control, as I mentioned that in the motivation slide. We don't have any control. And we use low-level resources to do that, which have to be released when the program finishes. So something that actually has to go to the file system and say, I want the contents of this bit of memory in the computer. And even if something goes wrong when we open the file, then it still needs to release those resources. If you don't release the resources, so when you're talking to the file system, if you don't tell the file system to let go of that file, eventually the computer runs out of resources and might even stop functioning until it's rebooted. So Python has a nice way of handling that with a keyword called with. And the with keyword just makes sure that all the resources get closed and cleaned up when the program finishes, even if something's gone wrong. So if I want to read the file, here I've written this function called read. So I give it the name of a file. So this is going to do the 2 operations. We saw the open operation and the read method. We're going to put them together in a single function because that's a really common thing you want to do, is to read open a file and read it. And we use this with open file name as file return file.read. So what does it do? It opens the file name and then it returns the contents that it reads from the file. If anything goes wrong, the with will make sure that all the resources that are called for the operating system are closed. Okay, so example 2 does exactly what we did before, but this time it uses that read function. So now here's the read function. We're gonna forget about this read function because that basically will allow us to open all kinds of files. We do contents equals read lorem.txt, and then we print the contents and we split the words as we did before. Okay, just to say, one thing I didn't mention is that at the moment, if I run this file in this folder, so you can see it's running in the folder here, it will read lorem.txt from the folder. If I want to get it from somewhere else, say somewhere else on the C drive, then I have to tell it a bit more about where it is. So we'll talk more about that a bit later on. But at the moment, I can just, if the file is in the same folder as the Python file, we can just put the name of the file. We don't have to put any more details about where it lives in the file system. Okay, let's finish that video there, and then we'll talk more about a spell checker, building a spell checker in the next video.